Welcome back, geographers. How are the landforms in northern and southern Europe similar? How are they different? Landforms and waterways. Much of northern Europe is a land of rugged mountains, rocky soils, and jagged coasts. The coast of southern Europe is dominated by the Mediterranean Sea. The table below lists the countries in both regions. Two peninsulas make up most of northern Europe. A peninsula is an area of land surrounded on three sides by water. Jutland extends northward from Germany and includes most of Denmark. The Scandinavian peninsula is made up of Norway and Sweden. Finland is the large landmass east of Sweden. Northern Europe also has many islands. Iceland is a large island near the Arctic Circle, and Denmark has about 400 islands. In southern Europe, Spain and Portugal are part of the Iberian Peninsula. Most of Italy is on the long, boot-shaped Italian peninsula. East of Italy, the larger Balkan Peninsula includes several Eastern European nations, with Greece on its southern tip. The islands of southern Europe include the Italian islands of Sicily and Sardinia and the Greek island of Crete. Malta is made up of several islands. The island of Cyprus contains both the independent nation of Cyprus and the Turkish territory of North Cyprus. In the north, the Scandinavian peninsula contains a spine of rugged mountains. Its terrain also has mountains and plateaus which were formed by glaciation. Glaciation occurs when glaciers, or moving masses of ice, cause weathering and erosion. Iceland's rugged terrain was formed by volcanoes. Iceland has more than 200 volcanoes and Europe's largest glacier. In the south, the Pyrenees mark the boundary between France and the Iberian Peninsula. The Alps form the northern boundary of Italy, while the Apennines extend along Italy's length. Greece has rugged highlands. Most of Spain lies on a plateau called the Meseta Central. The Tagus River divides Portugal into areas of rolling plains and hills and valleys. Northern Europe has few important rivers, but has a long coastline with many seas and bays. Much of Norway's west coast is dotted by fjords, or narrow, water-filled valleys formed by glaciers. The Baltic Sea borders Sweden and Finland. The most important body of water in southern Europe is the Mediterranean Sea. It stretches almost 2,500 miles, 4,023 kilometers, from the southern coast of Spain to the west coasts of Greece, Turkey, and parts of Southwest Asia. Important rivers in southern Europe include the Po in Italy, the Ebro in Spain, and the Tagus on the Iberian Peninsula. Contrasting climates. In northern Europe, the Norwegian current flows past Norway carrying warm water from the tropics. This gives western Norway a marine climate with mild winters and cool summers. Mountains reduce the air going west, so eastern Norway has colder and snowier winters. Finland's climate is continental because the seas do not influence it. It has cold winters and hot summers. In northern Finland, the land is mostly tundra. This is where subsoil is frozen and only plants such as lichens and mosses can survive. The Gulf Stream brings warm water to the southern and western coasts of Iceland. This moderates the temperatures in these parts of Iceland. The effect does not reach northern Iceland, though, where temperatures are colder year-round than elsewhere in the country. Most of southern Europe has a Mediterranean climate. Summers are warm or hot, and winters are cool or mild. Spring and fall are rainy, but summers are dry. Temperatures are not the same across southern Europe. Northern Italy is nearer the Alps and has a cooler mountain climate. Winters there are colder than in southern Italy, and snow is heavy at higher elevations. The Meseta Central in Spain has a continental climate. Its high elevation and mountains cause dry winds and drought throughout the year. This brings cold winters and hot summers. Natural resources. In southern Europe's dry climate, plants need to be resistant to drought. In fact, many areas are scrubland, or places where short grasses and shrubs are the most common plants. Grapes and olives are important crops, while wine and olive oil are important exports. Northern Europe has forests, so the main plant resource there is wood. Finland exports birch, spruce, pine wood, and paper products. Sweden's forests produce timber, paper, pulp, and furniture. Norway is Europe's biggest exporter of oil and one of its leading suppliers of natural gas. Northern Europe also has rich mineral ore resources, with deposits of iron ore, copper, titanium, lead, nickel, and zinc. Denmark uses wind turbines to supply much of its electricity. Sweden and Norway use hydroelectric power plants. Because of its volcanoes, Iceland has a great deal of geothermal energy. Norway has one of the biggest fishing industries in Europe. Today, fewer people work in this industry, because ships that tow large nets behind them are able to catch large amounts of fish. These ships are called trawlers. Spain and Portugal have long Atlantic Ocean coastlines, so fishing is an important industry there. It is also important to countries along the Mediterranean Sea, such as Italy and Greece. However, overfishing and pollution have hurt fish populations in the Mediterranean. Early history of the regions. In ancient Greece, separate communities called city-states formed. Each city-state was an independent political unit linked to other city-states by Greek language and culture. Although often jealous of each other, they joined forces to fight a common enemy. In 490 BC, the Persian army invaded, and the city-states of Athens and Sparta joined together to defeat the mighty Persian army. After the Persian Wars, Athens emerged as the most developed city-state. It became the first known democracy, and philosophy and art flourished there. Years of war eventually weakened the Greek city-states. The king of Macedon took over Greece as well as Asia Minor, Persia, Egypt, and other kingdoms. Alexander the Great, as he was called, created an empire that would last another 300 years. While Greek city-states were at their height, the city of Rome rose to power and became the Roman Republic. It was run by consuls who were elected to office annually. By 275 BC, Rome controlled the Italian peninsula. It then conquered Spain, Sicily, Macedonia, Greece, and Asia Minor. After the military leader Julius Caesar was assassinated, there were a series of emperors in Rome. The Roman Republic became the Roman Empire. In AD 330, the Emperor Constantine moved the capital from Rome to Byzantium in what is now Turkey. The new capital, renamed Constantinople, was closer to trade routes and farther away from the barbarians attacking the Roman Empire in the west. In AD 476, German invaders took control of Rome and ended the Roman Empire. The Eastern Empire lasted until 1453, when it fell to the Ottoman Turks. The Turks changed the name of the capital from Constantinople to Istanbul. In the AD 700s, ships carried warriors from Scandinavia to Western Europe. These pirates, called Vikings, raided the coasts and spread fear and destruction. They conquered parts of Britain, as well as Ireland and what is now Normandy in France. The Vikings eventually turned to trading and exploring. They used their longships, which were powered by oar and wind, to travel great distances. They crossed the Atlantic and founded settlements in Iceland and Greenland. Around AD 1000, Leif Erikson led the Vikings to Vinland, which is Newfoundland in Canada. He was the first European known to have reached North America. The Vikings followed a pagan religion, which was based on ancient myths and had a number of gods. After about AD 1000, Viking groups began converting to Christianity. More Scandinavians stayed home and the threat of Vikings went away. The Scandinavians helped build the kingdoms of Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. Discovery and rebirth. During the period known as the Middle Ages, many important scientific discoveries of the ancient Greeks were largely forgotten in the West. Many important manuscripts were taken to the east. When the Byzantine Empire fell in 1453, scholars took many ancient Greek manuscripts west. There the manuscripts were printed on a printing press, which had just been invented. People could now own and read these books. This breakthrough resulted in the Renaissance, a period of artistic and intellectual activity. It began in Italy and spread throughout Europe. In 1609, Italian astronomer Galileo designed a telescope to see the Moon and planets. His work helped prove the theory that the planets orbit the Sun. By the 1400s, Europeans wanted to do more business with China and India, but travel by land was long and dangerous. European rulers encouraged sailors and navigators to look for a sea route to Asia. The table below shows some of these explorers and their accomplishments. Through its trips to the Americas, Spain became the most powerful country in Europe. Spain built an empire in Mexico, Central America, and South America. In addition, contact between Europe and the Americas led to an exchange of goods called the Columbian Exchange. Europeans brought wheat, coffee, sugar, horses, and sheep to the Americas. They took tomatoes, corn, potatoes, and squash back to Europe. Meanwhile, Christianity had become identified with Europe, particularly Rome. When the Roman Empire split, so did Christianity. The western branch became the Roman Catholic Church. The eastern branch became the Eastern Orthodox Church. Other religions spread into Europe, too. In the AD 700s, the Moors, an Arabic people, invaded Spain from northern Africa. They brought the religion of Islam with them. In 1453, the Byzantine Empire fell to the Ottoman Turks, another Muslim people. During the 1520s, the ideas of Martin Luther led to the Protestant Reformation. Kingdoms across northern Europe broke away from the Roman Catholic Church and set up Protestant churches. History in the modern era. During the 1900s, northern and southern Europe were involved in both world wars. After fighting a civil war in the 1930s, Spain stayed out of World War II. Italy, ruled by dictator Benito Mussolini, sided with Nazi Germany. The Italians were defeated in 1943. The war in Europe ended in 1945. After World War II, there were many political changes. Italy, Spain, Portugal, and Greece became democracies. Greece also fought a civil war between communists and anti-communists. Since 1945, Scandinavia has had a high standard of living as well as political and social freedoms. Beginning in the 1990s, the nations of Northern and Southern Europe developed closer ties with one another and with other European countries as they joined the European Union. People and places. In most places in Northern and Southern Europe, the standard of living has improved. This has helped people live longer, and it has reduced the number of babies who die in their first year of life. The overall birth rate has gone down, though. Why? Europeans have decided to have fewer children. In Southern Europe, the number of people who live in rural areas has gone down, while the number of people in cities has gone up. In Rome, Milan, and Naples, Italy's three largest cities, the population is about 10 million people total. In Greece, about 60% of the people live in cities. In Spain, more than 75% live in urban areas. More than 5 million people live in Madrid. In Northern Europe, the population is even more concentrated in cities. More than half of Iceland's people live in the capital, Reykjavik. The capitals of Denmark, Norway, Sweden, and Finland have more people than any cities in their countries and are the cultural centers as well. In Northern Europe, most people live in southern parts of the countries because of the milder climates. People and cultures. The populations of the northern European countries are fairly homogeneous, or similar. The original settlers of these lands were the Sami people, or Lapps. Many Sami live by fishing and hunting. Most live in northern Sweden, Norway, and Finland. Iceland was first settled by Celts and later conquered by Norway. The bulk of the population is a blend of the two ethnic groups. The languages spoken in Denmark, Sweden, and Norway are from a common German language base. Today, Danish, Swedish, and Norwegian are very similar. Finnish is more like the Hungarian and Estonian languages. The populations of southern European countries are also fairly homogeneous. Greece has small populations of Turks, Albanians, Macedonians, and Rom, Gypsies. Most people speak Greek. Most people in Italy speak Italian. However, minority groups in northern Italy speak German, French, or Slovenian. The Italian language has many dialects, or regional variations. Most people in Spain speak a form of Spanish called Castilian. Other dialects are spoken as well, such as Catalan and Galician, which is related to Portuguese. The Protestant Reformation was more successful in Northern than in Southern Europe. Italy has made many contributions to art in painting, sculpture, and architecture. The genius of Italian Renaissance and Baroque art can be seen in palaces, churches, and paintings in cities such as Rome and Florence. Italian operas are among the most popular in the world. Italy is one of the world centers for architecture and fashion today. Spanish music has been influential all over Europe and the Americas. Spain promoted the guitar as a serious musical instrument. In Northern Europe also, composers made important contributions to classical and pop music. One of Northern Europe's most notable achievements is its literacy rate. In Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, the rate is nearly 100%. Schools have strong support from the government and most schooling is free. People in Northern Europe pay high taxes, but they receive many public services and social welfare benefits. Winter sports, such as skiing, are popular in Northern Europe. Soccer is popular in Southern Europe. Basketball is also common in Spain and Greece. And in Spain, bullfighting is still popular. Northern and Southern Europe are affected by the spread of popular culture and music. American fast food chains, television programs, and films are well liked throughout these regions. Issues in Northern and Southern Europe. In Northern European countries, the standard of living is high, but so are taxes. Northern Europeans practice a form of welfare capitalism. In this system, the government uses tax money to provide a variety of services, such as healthcare and education, to all citizens. After World War II, Italy had one of the weakest economies in Europe. Since then, it has built a strong industrial base. This base is stronger in the north than the south of the country. In 1992, a group of European countries signed a treaty creating the European Union, EU. The EU helps ease conflicts among member countries, but there are still problems. For instance, when many immigrants move to a country, fear of cultural differences can cause conflict and violence. A financial crisis swept the world in 2008. Europe had a recession, or a period of slow economic growth or decline. The three biggest banks in Iceland failed. Spain and Greece were hit hard. This affected the economies of other countries that were joined to them through the EU. Another issue surrounds two countries that are not in the EU, Iceland and Norway. Whaling was an important industry for both countries. However, as the whale population shrank, a ban was put in place. The ban has been lifted several times, but currently the International Whaling Commission is watching these countries.